high-need areas and populations who are medically underserved, including low-income and uninsured Americans. The new Access Point program has been essential to expanding access to affordable and high-quality primary health care, particularly through mobile health units. Mobile health units work. They are competitively funded. They are able to support multiple communities. A newly funded vehicle in eastern Connecticut, for example, is expected to serve about 40 communities. It's bringing healthcare directly to people who may have mobility issues or are unable to travel far from home. This is an innovative program. It's a promising program which would help rural areas particularly that do not have many physical facilities. Once again, Americans are staring down nearly $800 billion in cuts to Medicaid under President Trump's big ugly bill. Areas that already have a high degree of uninsured people or which rely on rural hospitals that will face higher costs will have to rely on new access point funding more than ever. I urge my colleagues to support the gentlelady's amendment, and I yield back.
Thank you, gentlelady. Are there other members wishing to address the amendment? Seeing none, the gentlelady is recognized to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Outerholt, I appreciate you understanding the importance of this program and using this type of funding for mobile units. The goals that you outlined for the Make America Healthy Again initiative, which seems very ill-defined right now. No one really knows where that money is going, what programs that is being used for. It aligns exactly with what this amendment's about, providing maternal health care, tribal health care, preventative care to rural areas, because it allows to use existing grant money to simply purchase or retrofit mobile units so you can do that. So I'm hoping that as Make America Healthy Again funding gets divided or gets parsed out, that you consider that this is a valiant and effective use for that funding. And again, with that, I hope everyone can support the bill or the amendment.
Thank you, gentlelady. The question's on the amendment offered by the little gentlelady from Nevada. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The opinion of the chair, the noes have it, and the amendment is not agreed to. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Morelli, is recognized for the purpose of an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment at the desk, and I move to dispense with the reading.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with, and the gentleman is recognized for remarks on his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise today to offer an amendment that would restore funding for the Child Care Access Means Parents in School program, otherwise known as C-Campus. 1 in 5 college students in America is also a parent. For them, child care is not a convenience, it's a lifeline that determines whether they can stay in school and finish their education and earn a degree. This program works. It helps parents remain enrolled, boosts graduation rates, and creates a path to better jobs and economic security. The return on investment is clear. When parents succeed in college, their children benefit, their families thrive, and the workforce grows only stronger. Yet the demand for affordable childcare continues to outpace the supply, leaving too many parents with an impossible choice between caring for their children and advancing their own careers. When we invest in working parents, we invest in stronger families, stronger communities, and a stronger economy, which is why we must continue to meet the needs of student parents across this country. It's become clear to me in conversations with my dear friend, Ms. Bice, that she has an interest in funding this program as well. I think we disagree on the means by which this ought to be funded and, frankly, the amount. So I've indicated to her that I'd like to work with her over the next several weeks to see if we can find an appropriate compromise and negotiate that for something that might be included in a final package. And so with that, I will withdraw the amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the gentleman very much and look forward to working with him. Amendment's been withdrawn. Excuse me. We now recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Levin, for the purpose of an amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk, and I ask for unanimous consent that the reading of this amendment be dispensed with.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The gentleman is recognized for remarks on his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I said during my introduction, which was many hours ago, that I have two kids, two great kids. They're in our local public school, middle school, 13 and 11 years old. I too went to a public middle school, and I'm sure some of you did also, or maybe your kids or grandkids are going to public elementary schools or middle schools or high schools. And I believe very strongly in our public education system, and that's why I was so surprised and upset when earlier this summer, the administration declined to release nearly $7 billion in federal funding for K through 12 and adult education one day before schools across the country expected the obligated funding to be released. The administration withheld formula grant funding for 6 specific programs with little to no explanation and no timeline of when a decision would be made on its release. Every single one of our districts receives formula grant funding. So I know every member in this committee was impacted by the administration's decision to withhold these dollars. In my state, nearly $800 million for K through 12 and $146 million for after school and summer learning was withheld. In my district alone, the 9 school districts that I represent were depending on and waiting for over $5 million. Schools in my district shared with me that their carefully and thoughtfully developed budgets strategically included the federal funding that was being frozen. They shared the impact of the potential funding loss, and they said it would require, many cases, a reduction in staff or could force them to shut down programs that support our children. They shared that, and this is one principal who said, and I quote, "Every dollar has a purpose, so even the loss of $1 million is going to impact hundreds of staff and thousands of students," end quote. I can share countless testimonials of how withholding or canceling these funds will devastate our schools, faculty, and children, but I don't have to because, as I alluded to before, I think each of you heard stories from your communities. The administration's actions were so concerning that a group of 10 Republican senators sent a letter to OMB Director Vogt requesting he release the funding, and I have a copy of this letter here. In their letter, the Republican senators, which included senators from many of your home states, pointed out that, quote, "The decision to withhold this funding is contrary to President Trump's goal of returning K through 12 education to the states," end quote. We were all relieved when the funding was finally released, almost a month after the initial announcement, but hopefully we can all agree that this fire drill should not have occurred in the first place. My amendment is really quite simple and right along these lines. It would require the Secretary of Education to award formula grant funding under the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act, the IDEA, and the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act on the date such funds become available for obligation. This should not be controversial. You know the importance of funding these programs, as you have included funding, even increased investments for some, under the laws in this bill. The language that is in this amendment is nearly identical to the bipartisan language included in the Senate's fiscal 26 LHHS bill. And look, I think at the end of the day, it's really unfortunate to see any sort of dispute or disagreement about these funds promptly making their way to our K through 12 educators. I hope that we can work together to deliver on our promises to our youth, their education, and ultimately their success. A no vote on this amendment means you're willing to leave schools in your district to the whims of this or any future administration. I'll say that again. A no vote on this amendment means you are willing to leave schools in your district to the whims of this or any future administration. As I've said before, colleagues, just because you might like what this administration does I almost assure you, you will not like what future administrations do. And we need to reassert our power under Article 1. And I'm glad that plaque is still there, Mr. Chairman. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7. I urge my colleagues to support the amendment, and I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. He should be aware I had to defend it from Mr. Morelli, actually, earlier today. Gentleman from Alabama, my good friend, Mr. Adderholt, is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank the gentleman for his amendment. However, it would undermine the ability of the administration to ensure effective and economical use of appropriated resources. Limiting the ability of the administration to ensure good governance and combat waste, fraud, and abuse is opposite to what we should be doing here. So I unfortunately have to oppose the amendment. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. Gentlelady from Connecticut, Ms. Delors, recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of the amendment. On March 15th, the President signed the fiscal year 2025 full-year continuing resolution into law, which carried forward funding levels for federal programs that were enacted in the previous fiscal year. This includes levels for programs that go out by statutory formula to public schools, such as those authorized in the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. Each year, very shortly after full-year appropriations are enacted, the Department of Education calculates allocations to states using updated data. In practice, the agency notifies states of their award amounts well in advance of the upcoming school year so districts and principals can plan accordingly. The law makes funds available for obligation on July 1st. But this school year was different. The Trump administration notified states on June 30th, a day before funds were supposed to become available, that they would be holding back $7 billion in after-school programs, English learners, and teacher professional development. 628 school superintendents were surveyed about the impact of these delays, and nearly 3/4 said they would have to cut academic programming and have said they expected to lay off teachers and school staff if funding was not restored soon. 1 month after its June 30th announcement, after bipartisan condemnation from members of Congress, the Trump administration reversed course, and they finally released the funds to states in accordance with the authorizing and appropriations statutes they are required to follow by law. My colleague's amendment is very simple. President Trump must award education formula funding to states the day such funds are available under the law, not a day later. Remember, Article 1, President Trump and Russ Vought need to stop stealing taxpayer dollars already appropriated by the Congress. Let us not repeat this chaos ever again. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment.
Thank the gentlelady. The gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Hoyer, is recognized for comments on the amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to comment on what the subcommittee chairman said. He said he was opposed to this amendment because it would interfere with what the administration wanted to do. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. Every bill we pass has the Congress's judgment on what ought to be done, not the president's. The president can ask us, the president can urge, the president can even veto. But when that bill becomes law, of course it impedes the administration, because we have made a decision for the American people where resources will be placed. But if our concept is we do not want to do that to the administration, then I suggest we wrap it up and go home at 11:15. Because everything we do including adopting this bill. I won't vote for it, but you will vote for it. I guarantee you, unless your premise is the president doesn't have to give a damn about what we say. If that's your premise, then we won't impede him at all. But if we pass this bill, we'll impede him. Of course we will. Why? Because that's our job, that's our responsibility, that's our duty. That's what the framers had in mind. Not that a dictator would tell us we're going to spend trillions of dollars on what I want. Each one of us represents about 775,000 people. And they didn't send me here, and I don't think they sent the Republicans here to vote simply whatever the President of the United States, whether it was Biden, Obama, Reagan, whoever. Reagan was the first president with whom I served. So, Mr. Subcommittee Chairman, you and I are very good friends. We've done a lot of work together over the years. But yes, we're going to impede by these amendments, by this bill, by the actions that the Congress and this committee take, we're going to impede the president. Unless you adopt Mr. Vogt's theory that under Article 2, the president has the theory to spend whatever he pleases, whenever he pleases, however he pleases. If you adopt that theory, you have abandoned the constitutional framework on which this government has survived for over 200 years. I urge passage of the gentleman's amendment.
Thank you, gentlemen. Are there other members wishing to comment on the amendment? Seeing none, the gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute to close.
Great respect for my friend, Mr. Adderholt. I would just encourage folks to take a look at this letter written by 10 Republican senators that basically acknowledge the same argument that Chairman Adderholt makes, but reach a different conclusion. And I can read from it. Again, these are 10 Republicans. A lot of them are from your states. You can reflexively vote no on this, but you ought to at least take the time to read the letter that your senators wrote about this. We share your concern about taxpayer money going to fund radical left-wing programs. However, we do not believe that is happening with these funds. These funds go to support programs that enjoy long-standing bipartisan support, like after-school and summer programs that provide learning and enrichment opportunities for school-age children, which also enables their parents to work and contribute to local economies. Signed, Shelley Moore Capito, John Boozman, Deb Fisher, Jim Justice, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Katie Britt, John Hoven, Mitch McConnell, and Michael Rounds. These are not like left-wing people here. Just take a minute and pause. If you think it's okay, as Mr. Hoyer said, I'm out of time, but if you think it's okay, why are we even here? The Constitution gives us the power of the purse, and our oath requires that we use it. What are we doing here? I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The question's now on the amendment offered by the gentleman from California. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Opinion of the chair, the noes have it. Recorded vote's been requested. Sufficient show of support has been demonstrated. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Adderholt. Mr. Adderholt, no. Mr. Aguilar. Mr. Alford. Mr. Alford, no. Mr. Amedee. Mr. Amedee, no. Mrs. Bice. Mrs. Bice, no. Mr. Bishop. Mr. Bishop, aye. Mr. Calvert. Mr. Calvert, no. Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, no. Mr. Case. Mr. Case, aye. Mr. Siscomani. Mr. Siscomani, no. Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein, no. Mr. Cloud. Mr. Cloud, no. Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Clyburn, aye. Mr. Clyde. Mr. Clyde, no. Mr. Cole. No. Mr. Cole, no. Mr. Cuellar. Mr. Cuellar, aye. Ms. Dean. Ms. Dean. Ms. Dean, aye. Ms. DeLauro. Ms. DeLauro. Ms. DeLauro, aye. Mr. Diaz-Balart. Mr. Diaz-Balart, no. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards, no. Mr. Elzey. Mr. Elzey, no. Ms. Escobar. Ms. Escobar, aye. Mr. Espaillat. Mr. Espaillat, aye. Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Fleischman, no. Ms. Frankel. Ms. Frankel, aye. Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin, no. Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez, no. Mr. Guest. Mr. Guest, no. Mr. Harder. Mr. Harder, aye. Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris, no. Mrs. Hinson. Mr. Hoyer.
On behalf of the framers, I vote aye.
Mr. Hoyer, aye. Mr. Ivy. Mr. Ivy, aye. Mr. Joyce. Ms. Capter. Mr. Joyce. Mr. Joyce, no. Ms. Capter, aye. Mr. Lalota. Mr. Lalota, no. Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee, aye. Ms. Letlow. Ms. Letlow, no. Mr. Levin. Mr. Levin, aye. Ms. Malloy. Ms. Malloy, no. Ms. McCollum. Ms. McCollum, aye. Ms. Ming. Ms. Ming, aye. Mr. Molinar. Mr. Molinar, no. Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, no. Mr. Morelli. Mr. Morelli, aye. Mr. Mervan. Mr. Mervan, aye. Mr. Newhouse. Mr. Newhouse, no. Ms. Perez. Ms. Perez, aye. Ms. Pingree. Ms. Pingree, aye. Mr. Pocan. Mr. Pocan, aye. Mr. Quigley. Mr. Quigley, aye. Mr. Reschenthaler. Mr. Reschenthaler, no. Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, no. Mr. Rutherford. Mr. Rutherford, no. Mr. Simpson. Mr. Simpson, no. Mr. Strong. Mr. Strong, no. Ms. Torres. Mrs. Torres, aye. Ms. Underwood. Ms. Underwood, aye. Mr. Valadeo. Mr. Valadeo, no. Ms. Wasserman Schultz. Ms. Wasserman Schultz, aye. Mrs. Watson Coleman. Mrs. Watson Coleman, aye. Mr. Womack. Mr. Womack, no. Mr. Zinke. Mr. Zinke, no.
Are there any members wishing to vote or change their vote? Gentleman from California.
Mr. Aguilar, aye.
Are there any other members wishing to vote or change their vote? Seeing none, the clerk will tally. On this vote, the ayes are 28, the noes are 34. The amendment is not adopted. The gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Mervan, is recognized for the purposes of an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an amendment at the desk, and I move that the reading be dispensed with.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with, and the gentleman is recognized for remarks on his amendment.
I rise to offer the amendment that would restore dedicated funding to the Bureau of International Labor Affairs. Since the beginning of this administration, labor groups have made it clear that any disinvestment in the protection of labor standards globally poses a significant threat to our domestic workforce and our economy. We all know that we must maintain and promote competitiveness beyond our borders. However, this bill falls short, and this amendment would provide the funding necessary to fill the gap. ILAB, which guides our nation's response to combating abusive labor practices with our trading partners, is a necessary function of our government. Losing the Bureau's work and expertise would, without a doubt, threaten our ability to hold our global partners accountable for their imported goods. ILAB does critical work that protects our supply chains, domestic industries, and workers from having to compete with goods made in countries that use forced labor, child labor, human trafficking, and other exploitative practices. Earlier this year, in our coordination with DOGE, the Department of Labor cut several grants that aimed to put workers first and ensure our supply chains are not flooded with goods made with cheap, exploited labor. Now, the majority wants to get rid of the Bureau altogether. The USMCA negotiations continue. I believe our trade policies must reflect values that give our domestic workers and industries a level playing field. Without a functioning Bureau, I am deeply concerned they will inevitably pay the cost of foreign entities that seek to take advantage of workers in their home countries. Upholding labor standards for our trading partners is not only a strong foreign policy, it's essential. I urge my colleagues to support the amendment, and I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Adderholtz, recognized to respond to the amendment.
Right, yes, appreciate the gentleman's amendment. Consistent with the President's America First agenda, this bill does make priority domestic programs that directly benefit American citizens. And while the previous administration spent a lot of precious tax dollars investigating the cut flower sector in Colombia, this bill recognizes that there are resources that are better directed to ensuring the health and and the wellness of Americans. Also, I must point out that this amendment does not have an offset and would cause the bill to breach its allocation, and therefore I oppose.
Thank the gentleman. Gentlelady from Connecticut is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in strong support of the amendment. The Department of Labor's Bureau of International Labor Affairs, ILAB, works to level the playing field for American workers by promoting fair labor practices with trading partners. Through high-impact technical assistance projects and monitoring by its staff and attachés, ILAB enforces labor provisions, the labor provisions in U.S. trade agreements, including the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Trade Agreement, USMCA. As 4 years as chair of this committee, I increased the funding for ILAB by $30 million. The USMCA is President Trump's trade agreement. And while I was, along with several other colleagues, part of the group that negotiated the USMCA, I negotiated with the administration to make significant improvements. We were clear that this would only work if our partners met their commitments under the deal. And through ILAB, we provided them with the resources to do so. This was a bipartisan USMCA, or a renegotiated NAFTA agreement that we came to a conclusion on. American workers are counting on Congress and the Department of Labor to monitor and force the USMCA labor commitments so that they do not lose jobs to places that have weaker labor standards. We fought on this issue, weaker labor standards at institutions. So we didn't put the U.S. at a risk and jobs at risk. But House Republicans in this bill are eliminating ILAP grants and the staff. It is a shameful effort that amounts to waving a white flag to countries that will steal American manufacturing jobs from us. Again, remember, the USMCA was renegotiated under the Trump administration. I negotiated with the trade representative, Bob Lighthizer, and we hammered out this issue. Eliminating ILAP sells out American workers. We turn a blind eye to countries relying on exploitative labor conditions, as my colleague Mr. Mervan has said. That includes child labor and forced labor to sell a high volume of low-cost goods here in the United States. I can remember the conversation in the gathering that we had, and we used to meet weekly, this group that Speaker Pelosi appointed to renegotiate the NAFTA agreement. And we got to talking about Bob Lighthizer, and I'm just not being self-serving, but I looked at the trade agreement. I said, what are we talking about here? That the U.S. is going to support forced labor? And he looked at me and said, you're right. So we built in that we couldn't do that, and that's the way we enforce it is through ILAB. With this amendment to restore ILAB's funding, my Republican colleagues have a chance to make sure that American workers are treated fairly by our trading partners and that we do not allow for exploitation of children, of workers, whether they're here or in other countries, and that we have and who are selling a high volume of low-cost goods here in the United States. I urge my colleagues to support Mr. Mervan's amendment. I yield back.
Thank gentlelady. Are there further members wishing to address the amendment? Gentlelady from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I rise in strong support of Congressman Mervan's amendment to restore funding for the International Labor Affairs Bureau. ILAB is one of the most effective tools our country has to enforce labor protections around the world. And if you haven't seen the statistics, our country has not had balanced trade accounts for over half a century. That doesn't speak well. And one of the reasons is because we put our people in competition with penny wage labor abroad. And so ILAB builds capacity in other countries to uphold core labor standards, combat child labor, and empower workers, in turn creating a fairer, more level playing field for workers here at home. American workers should not have to compete against exploited penny-wage workers abroad. By ensuring other countries enforce basic rights and protections, ILAB helps fight domestic wage suppression and unfair labor practices that undercut our very own industries and workers. Sufficient funding will allow ILAB to continue its critical work maintaining current data and publishing 3 key reports: the findings on the worst forms of child labor, the list of goods produced by child labor or forced labor, and the list of products produced by forced or indentured child labor. Funding ILAB would also restore support for a regular process of dialogue between civil society, unions, and worker advocates who share information about corporate supply chains. Before removing goods from the forced or child labor list, ILAB must demonstrate real systemic changes by governments and private sectors, not just surface-level promises. What comes to mind to me is a trip I took to Vietnam, and in walking through the cities, I saw, in Saigon in particular, little boys, they were maybe 8 years old at most, with lacquer. They were sanding these bowls with no protections. And then they had their little toes perched on the edges of the bowl, and they were sanding with all the dust and everything. And then they were spraying that lacquer. And it was everywhere. It was horrible. And I thought, oh my gosh, which dollar store is that going to end up in? Is that going to New York? Does that come to San Francisco? Where's that going to go? And it was actually painful to witness that. So maintaining support for ILAB to combat child labor while expanding enforcement efforts, build capacity in foreign governments. And yes, it takes a long time, and why should we bother? We should bother because children should never be treated that way. Workers should never be treated that way. Surely we want a fair global economy that lifts people, that lifts all boats. And rather than driving wages down, ILAB must be given the resources to do its job. I urge my colleagues to vote yes on this amendment, not just because it's economically wise, but because it's an issue of conscience. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, gentlelady. Are there others wishing to address the amendment? Seeing none, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute to close.
I want to reiterate that Representative Underwood made it clear that there is job loss, and we're in the business of preserving jobs and creating jobs. And ultimately, what this does is it levels the playing field to protect our workers here in the United States. And with that, I ask for your vote.
Thank the gentleman. The question is now on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Indiana. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Depending chair, the noes have it. And the amendment is not, a roll call has been requested, sufficient show of support. A roll call is ordered. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Adderholt? No. Mr. Adderholt, no. Mr. Aguilar? Mr. Aguilar, aye. Mr. Alford? Mr. Alford, no. Mr. Amade? Mr. Amade, no. Mrs. Bice? Mrs. Bice, no. Mr. Bishop? Mr. Bishop, aye. Mr. Calvert? Mr. Calvert, no. Mr. Carter? Mr. Carter, no. Mr. Case? Mr. Case, aye. Mr. Siscomani? Mr. Siscomani, no. Mr. Klein? Mr. Klein, no. Mr. Cloud? Mr. Cloud, no. Mr. Clyburn? Mr. Clyburn, aye. Mr. Clyde? Mr. Clyde, no. Mr. Cole?
No.
Mr. Cole, no. Mr. Cuellar? Ms. Dean? Ms. Dean, aye. Ms. DeLauro? Aye. Ms. DeLauro, aye. Mr. Diaz-Balart? Mr. Diaz-Balart, no. Mr. Edwards? Mr. Edwards, no. Mr. Elzey? Mr. Elzey, no. Ms. Escobar? Ms. Escobar, aye. Mr. Espaillat? Mr. Espaillat, aye. Mr. Fleischman? Mr. Fleischman, no. Ms. Frankel? Ms. Frankel, aye. Mr. Franklin? Mr. Franklin, no. Mr. Gonzalez? Mr. Gonzalez, no. Mr. Guest? Mr. Guest, no. Mr. Harder? Mr. Harder, aye. Dr. Harris? Dr. Harris, no. Mrs. Hinson? Mr. Hoyer? Mr. Hoyer, aye. Mr. Ivy? Mr. Ivy, aye. Mr. Joyce? Mr. Joyce, no. Ms. Capter? Ms. Capter, aye. Mr. Lalota? Ms. Lee? Ms. Lee, aye. Ms. Letlow? Ms. Letlow, no. Mr. Levin? Mr. Levin, aye. Ms. Malloy? Ms. Malloy, no. Ms. McCollum? Ms. McCollum, aye. Ms. Ming? Ms. Ming, aye. Mr. Molinar? Mr. Molinar, no. Mr. Moore? Mr. Morelli? Mr. Morelli, aye. Mr. Mervan? Mr. Mervan, aye. Mr. Newhouse? Mr. Newhouse, no. Ms. Perez? Ms. Perez, aye. Ms. Pingree? Ms. Pingree, aye. Mr. Pocan? Mr. Pocan, aye. Mr. Quigley? Mr. Quigley, aye. Mr. Reschenthaler? Mr. Reschenthaler, no. Mr. Rogers? Mr. Rogers, no. Mr. Rutherford? Mr. Rutherford, no. Mr. Simpson? Mr. Simpson, no. Mr. Strong? Mr. Strong, no. Mrs. Torres? Mrs. Torres, aye. Ms. Underwood? Ms. Underwood, aye. Mr. Valadeo? Mr. Valadeo, no. Ms. Wasserman Schultz? Ms. Wasserman Schultz, aye. Mrs. Watson Coleman? Mrs. Watson Coleman, aye. Mr. Womack? Mr. Womack, no. Mr. Zinke? Mr. Zinke, no.
Are there any members wishing to cast their vote or change their vote? Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Cuellar votes aye.
Gentleman from West Virginia.
Mr. Moore votes aye.
Okay. Are there any others wishing to cast their vote or change their vote? Clerks will tally. On this vote, the ayes are 29, the noes are 32. The amendment is not adopted. Gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Mervan, is recognized for the purpose of an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an amendment at the desk, and I move that the reading be dispensed with.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The gentleman is recognized for remarks on his amendment.
I rise to offer an amendment that would restore funding to the adult education programs as well as the adult and youth job training programs. I am focused on providing individuals and families with support they need to become self-sufficient. I've spent my career sitting across the table from people who found themselves down on their luck and needed to be connected with basic services that allowed them to feed their families and keep a roof over their heads. I've seen firsthand how a good-paying job can change lives. Recently, I had the opportunity to host a roundtable with our colleague, Rep. Nikki Baczynski, to discuss the importance of education and job programs. We sat down with labor unions, institutions of higher education, and community stakeholders, who were all extremely concerned about the uncertainty of federal funding to expand professional development opportunities for students and workers. Our economy relies on connecting workers to in-demand jobs. This legislation would completely eliminate adult education funding, as well as Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funding for adult and youth job training. We cannot keep pace with gaps in our workforce without adequate funding. Instead of supporting workers, the majority would rather prioritize tax breaks for the privileged. Instead of ensuring job seekers have a pathway to long-term employment, access reliable childcare and transportation that allow them to remain in the workforce, with this legislation, the majority has told our constituents it is their problem to solve, not ours. For those reasons, I urge my colleagues to support the amendment, and I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Adderholt, is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the gentleman's amendment. Unfortunately, again, as I've said, a lot of tough choices as we marked up this, as we have put together this bill, but this amendment is not offset because of breaching its allocation. Therefore, I'll have to oppose.
Gentlelady from Connecticut, Mr. Laura, is recognized to address the amendment.
It's hard to believe that the choice was $4.5 trillion. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were. Hi, it's nice to talk to you, Betty. It's hard to believe that $4.5 trillion, I guess that was some kind of a choice. It didn't seem to be such a tough choice. It was an easy choice to provide $4.5 trillion to the millionaires, billionaires, and the biggest corporations in the nation. But this was a tough choice to help people get a job. I rise in support of the amendment. With this amendment, my Republican colleagues have an opportunity to reverse one of this bill's worst assaults on the working class, the elimination of funding for job seekers looking for work in this economy. This bill cuts job training programs by more than 50%. Imagine job training programs, and fully eliminates funding for adult job training and youth job training. These cuts destroy job training and career development opportunities for more than 300,000 adults and more than 150,000 young adults. This bill also recklessly takes away opportunities provided by adult education programs for 1.1 million people nationwide. These are programs that help adults develop essential skills: numeracy, literacy, work readiness, high school equivalency. Without these skills, adults could be left on the sidelines despite our economy needing more skilled workers. It's amazing to me that at every level we're cutting off educational opportunities for people. Now we're taking away the ability to get job training programs so that people can succeed. Without programs that align students and adults with available job opportunities, without programs to equip high-need adults with essential learning opportunities, we will have a less skilled workforce, higher unemployment, and yes, a greater strain on our safety net programs and increased cost for people. The issue today is cost of living for people in this country. That is the underlying concern of Americans today. They live paycheck to paycheck. If we deny them the opportunity to get a paycheck, where does that put them? What kind of economic security that they can have for their future? That's not what this committee should be doing. This committee, once again, we provide opportunity for people. We don't take it away, pull the rug out from under them. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment.
Thank you, gentlelady. Gentlelady from Minnesota, Ms. McCollum, is recognized to address the amendment.
Bring this amendment. I've had the opportunity to go to some of our trade schools where I watch kids who weren't paying attention to math because they didn't think that they needed it. And then they need some extra support in order to be able to go through programs, whether it's, the folks who paint our bridges so our bridges are safe, people who glaze our windows, but also the Carpenters Union in my home state, Minnesota, they're located in my congressional district. They've done just a fantastic job of reaching out to women and changing their lives. And these are women who are sometimes in their 20s. I've met older women in their 30s where they have these opportunities to do things. And we've got a real labor shortage here. We've got a labor shortage in building ships right here in this region. And we need welders, and we need electricians, and we need apprentices, and we need people who, fill in to do all that hard, difficult work to keep our national security safe and strong right here. The chairman and I of the Defense Committee were hearing all the time that there's a labor shortage. So anything that we can do to welcome adults or kids who graduate from high school and all of a sudden it's like, whoops, I need a good paying job. I need to go into the vocations and the trades because our high school didn't introduce it to us. Or an adult's lost a job and realized that they really want to have a job that can support a family. So this is a really important amendment for our economic security, our national security, and I thank the gentleman for bringing it forward.
Thank you, gentlelady. The gentlelady from Maine, Ms. Pingree, is recognized to address the amendment.
Chair, I too want to thank the gentleman for bringing this amendment forward and just say our priorities are completely skewed here. As the ranking member was saying, we've given billions of dollars, trillions of dollars in tax cuts to billionaires and wealthy corporations, yet we're taking this money away from adult learners, and this is going to be devastating cuts in a state like mine. As so many people have already said, these are critical programs for adult learners. They help people get better jobs, to support their families, and contribute to our economy. Almost all of us, every time we meet with the Chamber of Commerce or we meet with employers, they say, I can't find enough skilled workers. I can't find enough employees. And we're taking away a vital pathway for adult learners to become those employees. In our state, our adult education program has helped over 13,000 students train for a career. Again, those numbers sound small if you're from Texas, but in our state, that's a lot of people. About 1,000 people a year earn their high school credentials through going to an adult education program. And we also have many people who get certifications for really vital jobs like medical credentials or trucking, welding, manufacturing jobs, technology, business. There are so many skills that people are able to learn because of these vital programs. Often they're learning English language, which is so critical to make sure they can join our workforce. I just want to end with a story I heard from a constituent about adult education had changed her life. When she was in high school, she had to leave high school to support her younger brother by working full-time at McDonald's. But she went to adult ed when she had the opportunity. She was able to get her high school credential in 6 months, then prepare for college placement, apply for scholarships. Now she's earning her nursing degree, which we were talking about earlier tonight, the shortage of nurses. But she wouldn't have been able to have those opportunities if we didn't have adult education in these programs to help her along the way. So I urge my colleagues to support this amendment. Let's get our priorities straight and make sure we're doing the things we should be doing here tonight. And I yield back.
Thank you, gentlelady. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Cuellar, is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also join my colleagues in supporting this amendment. You know, I remember I met this lady some time ago, and she was telling me she had 2 part-time jobs. She was trying to raise her grandchildren. She said, look, I want to get an education, not to get a fancy education. All she wanted to do was to help her kids how to read. And that's what this is all about. You know, this is something that we were taught that education is not a luxury, it's a necessity, and it's something that we need to look at. When we invest in adult education, we're investing in GEDs, ELs, English as a second language, upskilling to not only help individuals, but to help families, to grow communities, and to grow our economy. Every dollar that we put in education and adult education, it means higher wages. It means probably lower incarceration rates, better outcomes, and better hope for those folks that are trying to get the education. Folks in my area, and I think in all the areas, they don't want a handout. All they want is a fair shot. They want to be able to get a chance to work and make their lives better. When you have people that were not able to get an education and they're telling you, I want to be able to get an education. We're not talking about only the people or the teens. We're talking about people that already are working and they're in the 40s or in the 50s or in the 60s. And that basically what they want to do is just basically make their lives better. You know, members, this is not about red or blue. It's about lifting every American. It's about a single dad in your district, my district, that just wants to do better, or it's a single mom that wants to do better. All we want to do is, we want to be able to give them the tools so they can get better. So adult education is, I think in every member's district, somebody needs this funding, the adult education. So I certainly want to make sure that we support this particular amendment. I think it's important that we have a country where it's never too late or somebody's not too old to learn, not too late to grow, or not too forgotten to be seen. And this is what adult education is all about. So members, I hope on this one we can voice it, and if we hear carefully, the ayes will have it. Thank you. With that, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much.
Thank the gentleman. Are there other members wishing to address the amendment? Seeing none, the gentleman from Indiana is recognized for 1 minute to close.
More important thing I ought to be thinking about. Point well taken. Yes, sir. The point that I'll make is the converse argument to what I opened up with as far as workers and making sure that they had opportunities. So the current administration has talked about how the tariffs are going to onshore manufacturing. And if you're going to onshore manufacturing over the next 3 years, you're going to need a workforce. And if you don't have a workforce, you're not going to be able to fulfill the jobs, to fulfill those obligations to be productive. And so all that I'm asking today is we fund those programs to make sure that we have the workers for the future opportunities that we create in a bipartisan way, so that there are workers that can be productive, to be able to have a family, to be able to have a pension and raise a family on. So with that, I ask your support of the amendment.
Thank the gentleman. The question is now on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Indiana. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Opinion of the chair, the noes have it. And the amendment is not accepted. No, I'm sorry. I said the amendment was not accepted. It's like, well, yeah, all I would ask is the gentleman pay attention, or you guys do what you want to do, but it's late, and it's not like I didn't know. Well, we will reopen and have your vote. No, but please, that's not too much to ask. If I'm going to ask, you know. Okay, I thank the gentleman for his courtesy. Gentlelady from the state of Washington, Ms. Perez, recognized for an amendment.
And I'd request that it be read.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The member is recognized for remarks on her amendment.
Could it be read?
I'm sorry? She wants it read. Oh, I'm sorry. I just plunged right in, so I apologize to the gentlelady. The amendment can be read.
An amendment offered by Ms. Perez at the appropriate place in Title III, insert the following section blank. None of the funds made available in this act may be used by any local education agency to conduct student-involved active shooter drills in schools without first providing student participants under 16 years old with the ability to opt out of such exercises with parental or legal guardianship consent.
Thank you, Chair. Earlier this year, I met a reality that I believe all first-time parents of school-aged children in this country face. I got a notification from my daycare that that they had a active school shooter drill for my 3-year-old. And after that, my son started talking about shooting bad guys for the first time in his life. One parent I know, and parents, the group of parents I hang out with and talk with and that I see at the rivers, they're all talking about this. One parent I know told me that after their 14-year-old was required to be involved in a mandatory school shooting, they stopped sleeping at night, they went on anti-anxiety medication, and when parents petitioned the school to be excluded from mandatory school shooter drills, their petition was denied. The data on this is very clear. There is no evidence that mandatory student involvement in active shooter drills decreases fatalities. There is a lot of very clear evidence that these are profoundly psychologically traumatizing exercises. The American Association of Pediatricians does not support mandatory student participation in active shooter drills. Every Town for Gun Safety does not support mandatory student participation in active shooter drills. Moms Demand Action do not support mandatory school shooter participation. The NEA, the AFT do not support this exercise in security theater. The Department of Education came out with a report this year. They state that failure to allow parents to opt their children out when they have a documented case of anxiety disorder is likely a violation of the ADA. Ask yourself which tax bracket of parents is most likely to be able to afford a diagnosis of anxiety disorder. Why are we funding programs from the 1990s? Why are we funding programs with no evidence of efficacy? School shootings are too serious a threat to continue to fund solutions that are not effective. Schools that want to mandate mandatory participation can still do that under this amendment, but not with federal dollars. If this amendment passes, we can still mandate mandatory adult involvement in shooter drills. And I could have printed out some pretty heinous examples of what goes on in these school shooting drills. Fake blood on theater kids, gunfire played out over the PA system. But I wanted to give this body more dignity than our children are afforded. My amendment would simply prohibit schools from using funding to conduct student-involved active shooter drills without first allowing parents the opportunity to exclude their children. I know that this frame of discussion is a little bit different than how we typically discuss this issue in this body, but I guarantee that every group of parents is having this debate. If you're skeptical of Everytown or NEA or AFT or the American Association of Pediatricians, that's fine. But I'm asking you to affirm the rights of parents to decline that their children are used as props in a psychologically traumatizing security theater. Do not burden the failure of adult society on the shoulders of children. I humbly ask that this committee support my amendment, and I yield back.
Thank you, gentlelady. The gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Adderholt, is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I acknowledge the gentlelady's interest in offering this amendment. So I'm prepared to accept the amendment, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Gentlelady is recognized to close for 1 minute.
I thank the chair. I thank this body for considering the experience of parents and children. I yield back.
Questions now on the amendment offered by the gentlelady from the state of Washington. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is accepted. Gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Ivey, is recognized for the purpose of an amendment.
And I ask unanimous consent to dispense with its reading.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with, and the gentleman is recognized for remarks on his amendment.
This is an amendment to restore the funding for the HHS criminal and juvenile justice programs, usually referred to as SAMHSA. So dovetails a bit with what we were arguing about earlier today. The SAMHSA programs that I'm asking you to support include things like drug court, mental health court, teen court, intermediate types of programs that try and reach out to kids before they get really, really deep into criminal activity. And there's another version of these too. At the back end of it, somebody's gotten in trouble, they've been convicted, sent to jail. There are reentry programs that are available to help these people make the transition back. These are the kinds of programs that this grant funds, and I'm asking you to help support that. Part of the SAMHSA role is the issue of mental health and substance abuse for many of these people who are incarcerated. 65 to 70% of juveniles have diagnosed mental health conditions, those who are incarcerated. For adults, mental health issues, 44% in jail, 37% of all the people in prison have mental health issues. Substance abuse disorders, 63% of people in jail and 58% of people in prison. I think we need to recognize that this is a major issue with respect to people who are in the criminal justice system and find themselves incarcerated. And if we want to help them get out of it, I think it's important to try and have programs available like this to help them with the transition out, or better still, help them at the front end so they don't end up going to jail. Now, I know for some people, they say, you know what, send them to jail, keep them there as long as possible. But of course, 99.999% of everybody who goes to jail, they're coming out. And so the question is, what are they going to be like and what are they going to be doing? And will they fit back into the community when they get out? We need to have programs in place to make that happen, because it doesn't just happen by itself. And if we are not careful about how we do this at the front end as well, especially when it comes to incarcerating juveniles, because sometimes it helps them, a lot of times it doesn't. A lot of times these young kids go to jail and they come out sicker and slicker. And we need to make sure that whatever we're doing with these kinds of programs tries to avoid that and make sure we do everything we can to put them on the right track. And that includes having the types of programs that help with that issue. The last point I'll make on this is from a mental health standpoint. There's a lot of times we have people who are in and out of the criminal justice system. They're not doing anything like serious. They have minor mental health issues. A lot of times they won't take their medicine or whatever, but they're in and out of jail. And when they're adults, their families can't make them take their medicine. They can't, force them to do something because they're adults and they can make the decisions that they want to make. And at the same time, incarceration doesn't work because a lot of times they're committing very minor offenses. I found that we had a mental health court in Prince George's County that we set up, which was very effective at helping to deal with these kinds of issues from a family standpoint, from an individual defendant standpoint, and in many instances from a community standpoint. Neighbors who have somebody like that in their neighborhood, or local businesses who have recurring issues with people who have mental health issues, are desperate for a solution. And the judges who are involved in these sorts of courts get, special training and experience and become very adept at dealing with it. So I'm asking for a restoration of the funding for this program. I know what I'm likely to hear from the subcommittee chair, but this is funding that makes sense for these kinds of programs. And, if we don't take care of it at the front end, they used to say on that old oil commercial, you can pay me now or pay me later. We were just looking a minute ago, this Torres showed me something. A 13-year-old boy just south of Seattle was found to have 23 tactical style weapons in his bedroom. And he had a backpack filled with AR style weapon cartridges. Now, they found this early. This is before he shot up the school. But the writings they found from this kid were based, he was, talking about Columbine. He was looking forward to when he was old enough to go shoot up a school. We got a lot of this in our communities right now. I know we can try and put our heads in the sand about it, but we need to make sure we're doing everything we can from a programmatic standpoint to identify these kids. And when you find them, you need to make sure you've got something to do with them. Some kind of place where they can go get the assistance that they need to get back on track. And I know a lot of times they say, hey, let's lean on the parents. A lot of times the parents of these kids are actually part of the problem. So they need outside assistance, give courts a chance, give some of these local criminal justice and law enforcement entities the funding for programs to help make a difference, help them with schools, give them the funding to make a difference. I urge you to support the amendment, and I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Adderholt, is recognized to address the amendment.
Again, appreciate the gentleman's amendment. As I said in my opening remarks many hours ago, we do have to make our priorities in this bill, and that does entail reducing funding for some programs. This amendment would require $11 million in funding that is not offset. It would cause the bill to breach in its allocation, but I do want to note that that some of these activities are funded through other SAMHSA programs and other Commerce, Justice, Science, and related agencies bill, and we will have that before us tomorrow. So I got to oppose the amendment, but I look forward to working with the gentleman, and I yield back.
Thank you, gentlemen. The gentlelady from Connecticut is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill's priorities are really wrong-headed. I rise in support of the amendment, which increases funding for SAMHSA's criminal and juvenile justice programs. Our nation has made progress in reducing crime since the pandemic, but addressing mental health and substance use disorders must continue to be a priority. According to SAMHSA's research, an estimated 44% of people in jail have a mental illness, and nearly 63% suffer from addiction. Not only do these conditions make incarceration more challenging, but upon release, these individuals often find it difficult to re-enter society in a productive way. The criminal and juvenile justice programs under SAMHSA help address these challenges. They identify, they train, and they connect individuals with services. Preventing and reducing crime is a challenge. It must be addressed at multiple levels. We need to continue to improve our understanding and treatment of mental health and addiction, or we will risk the progress we are making towards safer communities and healthier, more productive lives for all Americans. Let's help, because this committee has the power to do this. Let's help make a difference for people. Let's help to try to change their lives for the better so that they can make their way, have a good, productive life, and contribute to society rather than cause chaos in society. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I yield back.
Thank the gentlelady. Are there other amendments or other members wishing to address the amendment? Seeing none, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute to close.
Well, I thank the ranking member, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to speak again. I will urge my colleagues, and I appreciate the subcommittee chair saying we can have a conversation going forward about this. I guess that would be tomorrow, since the other bill's coming up tomorrow. But later today, there you go. But look, this problem's not going away, and it's not going to get better, especially if we don't do anything to try and address it. And, you know, what we've done over the last day and a half now, I guess, is nothing to address it. And unfortunately, a lot of the cuts, I know subcommittee chair referenced some other programs out there, but many of them have taken very deep cuts as well. I suppose we'll talk about those later today. But the next time we have an active shooter, the next time we have a school shot up, the next time we have a concert shot up in Las Vegas or wherever, we need to ask ourselves, are we really doing enough to try and address this? And it doesn't even have to be those big events like that. It can be the regular stuff that happens in our communities day in and day out. Let's try and take a step to address it. This is the way to do it. We know this works. I urge my colleagues to support the amendment.
Thank you, gentlemen. The question now is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Maryland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Opinion of the chair, noes have it. A recorded vote's been requested. Sufficient number of hands have been raised. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Adderholt. Mr. Adderholt, no. Mr. Aguilar. Mr. Aguilar, aye. Mr. Alford. Mr. Alford, no. Mr. Amade. Mr. Amade, no. Mrs. Bice. Mrs. Bice, no. Mr. Bishop. Mr. Bishop, aye. Mr. Calvert. Mr. Calvert, no. Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, no. Mr. Case. Mr. Case, aye. Mr. Siscomani. Mr. Siscomani, no. Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein, no. Mr. Cloud. Mr. Cloud, no. Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Clyburn, aye. Mr. Clyde. Mr. Clyde, no. Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole, no. Mr. Cuellar. Ms. Dean. Ms. Dean, aye. Mr. Loro.
Aye.
Mr. Loro, aye. Mr. Diaz-Balart. Mr. Diaz-Balart, no. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards, no. Mr. Elzey. Mr. Elzey, no. Ms. Escobar. Ms. Escobar, aye. Mr. Espaillat. Mr. Espaillat, aye. Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Fleischman, no. Ms. Frankel. Ms. Frankel, aye. Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin, no. Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez, no. Mr. Guest. Mr. Guest, no. Mr. Harder. Mr. Harder, aye. Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris, no. Mrs. Hinson. Mr. Hoyer. Mr. Hoyer, aye. Mr. Ivy? Mr. Ivy, aye. Mr. Joyce? Ms. Capter? Ms. Capter, aye. Mr. Lalota? Mr. Lalota, no. Ms. Lee? Ms. Lee, aye. Mr. Letlow? Ms. Letlow, no. Mr. Levin? Mr. Levin, aye. Ms. Malloy? Ms. Malloy, no. Ms. McCollum? Ms. McCollum, aye. Ms. Ming? Ms. Ming, aye. Mr. Molinar? Mr. Molinar, no. Mr. Moore? Mr. Moore, no. Mr. Morelli? Mr. Morelli, aye. Mr. Mervan? Mr. Mervan, aye. Mr. Newhouse? Mr. Newhouse, no. Ms. Perez? Ms. Perez, aye. Ms. Pingree? Ms. Pingree, aye. Mr. Pocan? Mr. Pocan, aye. Mr. Quigley? Mr. Quigley, aye. Mr. Rushenthaler? Mr. Rushenthaler, no. Mr. Rogers? Mr. Rogers, no. Mr. Rutherford? Mr. Rutherford, no. Mr. Simpson? Mr. Simpson, no. Mr. Strong? Mr. Strong, no. Mrs. Torres? Mrs. Torres?
Aye.
Mrs. Torres, aye. Ms. Underwood? Ms. Underwood, aye. Mr. Valadeo? Mr. Valadeo, no. Ms. Wasserman Schultz? Ms. Wasserman Schultz, aye. Mrs. Watson Coleman? Mrs. Watson Coleman, aye. Mr. Womack? Mr. Womack, no. Mr. Zinke? Mr. Zinke, no.
Are there any members wishing to cast their vote or change their vote? Gentleman from Texas?
Mr. Cuellar, aye.
Gentleman from Virginia? Have you already voted? Gentleman from Ohio?
Mr. Joyce votes no.
Are there any other members wishing to cast their vote or change their vote? Seeing none, the clerks will tally. On this vote, the ayes are 28, the noes are 34. The amendment is not adopted. Gentleman, or gentlelady, excuse me, Ms. Watchman Coleman is recognized for an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have an amendment at the desk, and I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading of the amendment.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with, and the gentlelady is recognized for remarks on her amendment.
Thank you. My amendment would restore funding for the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, which the bill in its current form eliminates entirely. The FMCS provides mediation services between workers and employers. It acts as a peacemaker when conflicts arise. Crucially, it's a neutral arbiter. It's an independent agency. Its role is not to favor one side or the other, but to help both sides reach an agreement that benefits everyone. Last year, the FMCS successfully brokered agreements between labor unions and employers in California, Oregon, Nevada, New York, Illinois, Oklahoma, Washington, D.C., and around the country. They prevented work stoppages in hospitals, on transit lines, at utility providers, and more. Most importantly, they facilitated agreements that respect the dignity of workers and are practical for employers, leading to better services for the Americans who rely on them. All told, last year alone, the FMCS conducted more than 5,400 mediated negotiations and convened over 10,000 arbitration panels. For every $1 we invest in FMCS, we get $9 back in increased economic activity. It's a worthwhile investment both in our workforce and our economy. But dismantling the FMCS means that the occasionally heated and contentious negotiations between labor and management will stretch on and on, with more service disruptions and fewer agreements. And it's another way that this administration is rigging the rules of the game against workers. Because if there isn't a trusted, neutral broker and the NLRB is essentially defunct, there's nothing to stop companies from railroading their workers whenever it suits their interests. The FMCS provides an alternate path, one where both sides can come away satisfied. It proves that the relationship does not have to be sum zero. But by eliminating this crucial service, we're telling employers that there's no reason to reach an agreement and that raw power is the only path forward. That's bad for workers, that's bad for communities, that's bad for our economy. I strongly urge my colleagues to support this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank the gentlelady. The gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Adderholt, is recognized to address the amendment.
Oh, actually commend the Trump administration for cost-cutting efforts, including its proposal to eliminate FMCS. Even modest cuts are important for long-term fiscal discipline. However, the bottom line here is the amendment is not offset. It will cause the bill to breach its allocation, and I will have to oppose the amendment. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. The gentlelady from Connecticut, Ms. Delors, is recognized to address the amendment.
So interesting. We have no budget. We have no allocation. Let's talk about what we are doing here tonight. I rise in support of this amendment. It restores funding for a vital agency that helps workers in the economy by settling disputes through mediation. The Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service saves the U.S. economy over $500 million by resolving disputes and preventing expensive litigation, providing over a 10 times return on its budget. In 2023, FMCS participated in almost 2,500 collective bargaining mediations, including many first contract negotiations. In my own state of Connecticut, FMCS helped facilitate successful negotiation between Bacchus Hospital and the Bacchus Federation of Nurses, ensuring a 3-year agreement was reached without a work stoppage. These services were completely free for both parties, providing a no-cost way for productive negotiations to occur. Talk about cost savings. Again, the Trump administration promised to be the most pro-worker in history. They even hung a banner of his face from the Department of Labor. Meanwhile, they are cutting the budget for an agency that helps prevent strikes, lockouts, and litigation, and keeps workers on the job. Cutting this agency would have ripple effects across the entire economy by taking away options from businesses and workers who want to work out their differences in a productive manner. It was SEIU, the local 1199, that represents New England. It represents union workers in my district, was the first to raise the alarm about this cut, and they raised it with the International Union. This is yet again another attack on labor that both myself and my constituents wholeheartedly should reject, and one that we should all reject. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I yield back.
Thank you, gentlelady. Are there other members wishing to debate the amendment? Seeing none, the gentleman is recognized, or gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute to close.
It's late.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our economy works best when our workers are respected and businesses have the stability to plan for the future. Conflicts will inevitably arise. That's unavoidable. But when they drag on and drag on and drag on, jeopardizing services and determining workers, nobody wins. I encourage my colleagues to support this amendment because we're all better off when the FMCS can do its job. And thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, gentlelady. The question is now on the amendment offered by the gentlelady from New Jersey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Opinion of the chair, the noes have it. And the amendment is not accepted.
Okay.
Before we move to the final motion of the evening, I wish to advise the committee, and you'll be officially, we're going to meet about a half hour later, 10:30 tomorrow. We have leadership requests to sit down with a couple of our members. They're going to need to, I don't want you sitting around here waiting for 30 minutes. So it's okay, we'll meet at 10:30 instead of 10 a.m. as scheduled. And again, you'll get an official notice on that. With that, I believe we have a motion from Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Chair, I move to favorably report to the House the fiscal year 2026 Labor, Health, and Human Services, Education, and related agencies appropriations bill.
The question is now on the motion to favorably report to the House for fiscal year 2026 Labor, Health, and Human Services, Education, and related agencies appropriations bill. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Recorded vote has been requested. Sufficient number of hands have been raised. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Adderholt. Mr. Adderholt, aye. Mr. Aguilar. Mr. Aguilar, no. Mr. Alford. Mr. Alford, aye. Mr. Amade. Mr. Amade, aye. Mrs. Bice. Mrs. Bice, aye. Mr. Bishop. Mr. Bishop, no. Mr. Calvert. Mr. Calvert, aye. Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, aye. Mr. Case. Mr. Case, no. Mr. Siscomani. Mr. Siscomani, aye. Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein, aye. Mr. Cloud. Mr. Cloud, aye. Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Clyburn, no. Mr. Clyde. Mr. Clyde, aye. Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole, aye. Mr. Cuellar. Mr. Cuellar, no. Miss Dean.
Ms. Dean?
Miss Dean, no. Miss DeLauro.
No, wait. Yeah.
Miss DeLauro.
No.
No. Mr. Diaz-Balart. Mr. Diaz-Balart, aye. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards, aye. Mr. Elzey. Mr. Elzey, aye. Miss Escobar. Miss Escobar, no. Mr. Espaillat. Mr. Espaillat, no. Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Fleischman, aye. Miss Frankel. Miss Frankel, no. Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin, aye. Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez, aye. Mr. Guest. Mr. Guest, aye. Mr. Harder. Mr. Harder, no. Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris, aye. Mrs. Hinson. Mrs. Hinson, aye. Mr. Hoyer.
Aye. No, excuse me, no.
Mr. Hoyer, no. Mr. Ivy. Mr. Ivy, no. Mr. Joyce. Mr. Joyce, aye. Miss Captor. Miss Captor, no. Mr. Lalota.
Right.
Mr. Lalota, aye. Miss Lee. Miss Lee, no. Miss Letlow. Miss Letlow, aye. Mr. Levin. Mr. Levin, no. Miss Malloy. Miss Malloy, aye. Miss McCollum. Miss McCollum, no. Miss Ming. Miss Ming, no. Mr. Molinar. Mr. Molinar, aye. Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, aye. Mr. Morelli. Mr. Morelli, no. Mr. Mervan. Mr. Mervan, no. Mr. Newhouse. Mr. Newhouse, aye. Miss Perez. Miss Perez, no. Miss Pingree. Miss Pingree, no. Mr. Pocan. Mr. Pocan, no. Mr. Quigley. Mr. Quigley, no. Mr. Reschenthaler. Mr. Reschenthaler, aye. Mr. Rogers.
Thank you. That's real. That's
Mr. Rogers, aye. Mr. Rutherford. Mr. Rutherford, aye. Mr. Simpson.
say. He never saw me.
Mr. Simpson, aye. Mr. Strong.
And,
Mr. Strong, aye. Mrs. Torres. Mrs. Torres, no. Miss Underwood. Miss Underwood, no. Mr. Valadeo. Mr. Valadeo, aye. Miss Wasserman Schultz. Miss Wasserman Schultz, no. Mrs. Watson Coleman. Mrs. Watson Coleman, no. Mr. Womack. Mr. Womack, aye. Mr. Zinke. Mr. Zinke, aye.
Are there any members wishing to record their vote or change their vote? Seeing none, the clerk will tally.
today,
I'm sorry, I apologize. And again, I apologize. On this vote, the ayes are 35, the noes are 28, and the motion is agreed to. I ask unanimous consent that staff be permitted to make technical and conforming changes to the bill and the report just approved. 3 days. Seeing no objection, so ordered. Without objection, so ordered. There being no further business, the committee stands adjourned. Oh, thank you.